A few years ago, my cousin and I decided to take a weekend road trip. We had heard stories about an old, abandoned house on the outskirts of town, deep in the woods. No one had lived there for decades, and locals always gave you the same warning: don't go near it after dark. Of course, we were both young and curious, thinking it was just a ghost story to spook tourists. We found the place easily enough. It was a large, decrepit two-story house covered in ivy with broken windows and a door that hung by a single hinge. The first thing we noticed was how silent it was. No birds, no rustling of trees. Just stillness. We figured it was just the eerie atmosphere, but something about it didn't sit right with me. My cousin, being the bolder of the two, pushed open the door. The hinges creaked loudly, sending a shiver down my spine. We stepped inside, and I could feel the temperature drop. Inside, the air was thick and stale, like no one had breathed in that house for years. There were remnants of old furniture, some rotting and others still oddly intact, like someone had simply left in a hurry. I took a few cautious steps, and the floorboards creaked under my weight. My cousin went straight to the staircase, eager to explore the upper floor. I stayed behind, feeling a bit uneasy, staring at a cracked mirror on the wall. My reflection seemed off. It wasn't until I heard my cousin call from upstairs that I moved from my spot. "You have to see this," he shouted. I walked up slowly, trying not to feel the weight of the house pressing in on me. When I reached the second floor, I found him standing in front of a room at the end of the hallway. The door was ajar, and there was something strange about the light flickering inside. I entered the room and froze. It was a bedroom, but there was something disturbingly new about it. The bed, although covered in dust, had what looked like recent indentations in the sheets. A small, child-sized toy sat on the nightstand, a wooden soldier, its paint chipped away, but still clear enough to make out its features. My cousin didn't seem to notice. He was too busy flipping through a small journal that was left open on the desk. I leaned over to take a look at the journal my cousin had found. The pages were yellowed and fragile, but the handwriting was still legible. It was a woman's, neat and precise, with a faint smell of mildew lingering on the paper. The entries were dated, the last one just a few days before we had arrived. March 15th, 1952, my cousin read aloud. "I can feel it again. The presence, like someone is always watching me. I can't leave the house. I'm too scared to open the door at night. I hear them moving. Every night." We both stared at the page in silence. It didn't seem like an ordinary journal. The way the entries became more erratic, more desperate as the days passed, it felt real. The last entry read, "If anyone reads this, know that it's not just me. They're here. They never leave. I'm trapped, and so are you." A cold gust of wind swept through the room, even though all the windows were closed. I quickly flipped the journal shut, and we both glanced at each other, the unease in the pit of my stomach growing stronger. We stood there for a few moments, the journal now tucked under my cousin's arm. It was hard to shake off the feeling that we weren't alone, even though we hadn't seen or heard anything else that should have been alarming. Then a low sound cut through the silence, a soft scraping, like something was being dragged across the floor downstairs. My heart skipped a beat. I glanced at my cousin, who looked just as unsettled, his eyes darting toward the hallway. The sound stopped, but the eerie quiet that followed felt suffocating. We waited for what felt like an eternity, but no more noises came. We decided to leave the room, but as we moved down the hallway, I saw something out of the corner of my eye, a shadow moving quickly across the wall just beyond the staircase. My cousin didn't notice, but I froze. The shadow wasn't cast by anything in the room, yet it was perfectly clear. My breath caught in my throat. "Did you see that?" I whispered, trying to sound calm. My cousin looked up, confused. "See what?" Before I could respond, there was a loud bang downstairs, followed by the sound of shuffling footsteps, slow, deliberate, and unmistakably human. We didn't have to say anything to each other. We both knew we needed to leave fast. But as we turned to head for the staircase, the door at the end of the hallway suddenly slammed shut with a deafening thud. My heart pounded in my chest as I looked over at my cousin, whose face had gone pale. "Let's just go," I urged, but my cousin didn't move. Instead, he seemed drawn to the sound we had heard earlier, the footsteps. They were growing louder, closer. "What if someone else is here?" he muttered, his curiosity getting the better of him. Before I could stop him, he was already walking toward the stairs, slowly, cautiously. I followed reluctantly, my mind screaming that we should leave, but my feet were frozen. We reached the first floor, and the house was strangely quiet again. The scraping noise was gone, but then we both heard it, footsteps, not from upstairs, but from beneath us. They echoed from the basement, heavy, dragging, like something was being pulled across the concrete. Without a word, we both moved toward the basement door, the handle cold in my grip. As soon as the door creaked open, a blast of cold air hit us, followed by the smell of damp earth and decay. My cousin hesitated but pushed the door all the way open. The stairs leading down were almost completely hidden by shadows. I didn't want to go down there. I wanted to run, but the pull of whatever was downstairs was too strong. My cousin turned to me, his voice barely a whisper, "We have to see." We descended the stairs slowly, each creak of the wood sounding like it echoed through the entire house. The basement was pitch black, except for a thin line of light coming from a tiny, grimy window near the ceiling. My cousin turned on his phone flashlight. The beam cut through the dark, revealing old shelves, cobwebs, rusted tools, and something else. In the corner was a large wooden trunk, slightly open, as if someone had rummaged through it recently. Beside it, etched into the concrete floor, were symbols. Not random scribbles, deliberate marks like something out of a ritual. My cousin moved closer, but I stayed where I was. The air felt wrong down there. Thick, heavy, like breathing through a wet cloth. Then we heard it, a whisper right behind us. Not loud, not angry, just there. We spun around, but no one was behind us, just the dark. My cousin, visibly shaken now, slammed the trunk shut. We turned and bolted up the stairs, not daring to look back. The house groaned as we ran through it, like it was waking up, like we disturbed something that had been asleep for a long time. We didn't stop running until we reached the car. Neither of us spoke on the drive back. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the journal, the symbols, that whisper. My cousin texted me around 3 a.m. No words, just a photo. It was that wooden soldier from the bedroom, sitting on his nightstand. We never talked about the house again, but something followed us. I feel it sometimes, especially at night. Watching, waiting, just like the journal said.